AITA for asking my brother if he was gay? I, 20M, took my brother, 15M, out to eat yesterday. I try to do this at least once or twice a month since I don't live at home anymore. The problem is when we were at the restaurant, my brother couldn't keep his eyes off of the waiter and kept stuttering when he tried to place his order. I noticed him looking at the waiter wherever he went and was even full on staring at him when he was at another table. The first time I caught him, I didn't say anything until about the third time. I decided to ask him if he was gay because I always suspected it, and the way he was looking at the waiter just made me even more suspicious. However, when I asked him that, he just kinda paused and told me that he wasn't. He then asked me if he was gay, would I have a problem with it, and I told him that I wouldn't. After that, we just kinda dropped it and carried on as usual. I kind of forgot about the situation until he called me earlier today crying. He called me crying and asked why I thought he was gay and if he gives off a gay vibe. I was essentially caught off guard by this and tried to calm him down and explain to him that he didn't give off that vibe, and I was just wondering, hoping that would calm him down. After a while, he stopped crying and calmed down, but kept repeating to make sure that I understood that he wasn't gay and didn't like boys. I apologized to him and told him that it wasn't my intention to offend him, and I told him that I understand that he's straight. I told him that I'll love him either way, so wouldn't matter anyway. After that we kinda hung up, and after our conversation I felt bad for making him cry. He didn't show that he had a problem with it until today, so it must have bothered him at the restaurant too. Was it wrong of me to ask? I can see both sides of it. When I received those types of questions at that age, it made me panicky. I wasn't ready to address it. At the same time, I know other people didn't know this, so I think it's fair that you were curious about it. But to people that actually are gay and working through it, it's a big deal and not something they'd probably just throw out there over dinner. Nah, what's important is that you're supportive of him regardless. Obviously you could have been more tactful when you asked him LMAO, but what's done is done. Whether he's gay or not, society puts a lot of pressure on people to act a certain way. I think reaffirming that you love him and that he should just be his authentic self regardless of his sexuality is important. He might be crying because someone in his life, the media he's consuming, etc., is making him feel bad about his personality, mannerisms, sexuality, etc. Just to reiterate, I think the best thing you could do as his brother is remind him that you'll always be there for him, regardless. Also, to clarify, I don't think you made your brother cry. Your brother cried because for some reason, the thought of being perceived as gay terrifies him. My educated guess is that he feels immensely pressured to be seen as straight, which is concerning. I don't think you're in the wrong, and I don't think you made him cry. There's a reason it's called coming out of the closet, and not getting dragged out of the closet. I don't think you had harmful intent, but this was not the right way to address it. If he's gay, he needs to come out on his own terms, on his own timeline. Clearly it's a delicate topic for him, though you seem to have the best intentions. Please don't force the issue. Try this instead. Find subtle ways to show him you're an ally of LGBTQIA+ people. That way, wherever his journey takes him, he'll know you love and support him. Why is everyone jumping to he's gay? At that age they can be awkward, especially if you're infatuated with someone or think they're cool. I can't tell you how many girls I would stare at because I was envious of how beautiful they were, or confident they were. Your heart was in the right place. But let it be. He's probably still figuring out who he is. I had so much anxiety as a teen because other teens seemed so sure of themselves and knew who they were. I figured out later in life There's no rush for putting a label on yourself. However, at the time it always sucked feeling like a late bloomer in life. NTA. You didn't have any negative intent with your question. He's just not ready to admit it. Perhaps even to himself. That's a tricky age. BTW. He is probably gay or bi. Let him bring that news to you next time. No one the here. You're a good brother actually, and I believe your brother is still in the closet and is extremely afraid of judgment and potential homophobia lest people should find out. He just isn't ready to come out yet, and your innocent comment took him by surprise and triggered his biggest fears and made him self-conscious, it seems. Good on you for assuring him that you support him either ways. I suggest you have a good talk with him. Don't force him to spill anything. Just reassure him that his mannerisms are perfectly fine and that he has nothing to worry about. Encourage him to be comfortable with himself. Let him know that you're a safe place for him to come to with anything bothering him at all. You could also apologize to him for your question at the restaurant and be honest with him as to what made you ask that. You noticed his behavioral changes and that made you ask the question, but it was just based off of that specific time and that your question was completely innocent. Knowing the whole story will probably ease his mind. I'm going to say NTA, but I wouldn't bring it up to him again on your own. He might be gay, bi and know it. He might be gay, bi and not know it. He might not be gay at all. He's still young and has time to figure that out. It can be a difficult topic of conversation, especially with family and especially if you're still figuring it out. Like I said, I wouldn't bring it up to him. If he wants to talk about it, let him come to you next. You've at least opened him up to the idea that you won't mind either way. Definitely don't tell anyone else about your conversation with him if that isn't already obvious. I can understand why others might be saying you are ta, because it might be pretty jarring to just have that question dropped on you in the middle of dinner with no idea it's coming. Delicacy is really important when it comes to these things. But it doesn't sound like you had bad intentions. Just keep treating him the same way you've been treating him before you asked, and let him come to you next time. And if he does bring up the topic again, maybe apologize for how blunt you were about it. I have a friend in his 50s. Sure, he is gay, but he's never admitted it. I don't have a problem with it, but he obviously has a problem with himself. Over time, he has drifted away from all of his friends, which were all straight in this group. We knew gay people, but they weren't regulars in the circle. He will either come out when he's ready or he won't. That applies to both my friend and your brother. It sounds like he's still figuring it out for himself. Not the asshole. He may have some internalized homophobia which is making it difficult for him. Hence the crying and thinking it's a bad thing. But all you can really do is support him and ensure he understands it isn't wrong. YTA, but you didn't mean to be one. Asking someone if they're gay in a public space, even in a progressive country, is a bad idea. Puts them on the spot and makes them deal with a lot of internalized fear and shame for what was meant to be just a lunchtime hangout. You meant no harm, I get it. But being gay involves working through a lot of external stigma, and you put your little brother on the spot. Nah. You handled that pretty well for an in-the-moment situation. Not that it matters since it's in the past now. But what might have been better was to instead make a comment focusing on the interaction rather than his identity. For example, saying something like, "The waiter's kind of cute." Huh? It could have flustered him just as much. But there is a chance he would have been a bit more disarmed. Especially in his generation. I know there tends to be this toxic focus on identity rather than experience. And so the gay label likely has a lot of social implications that he really is not interested in dealing with right now. However, as many commenters are pointing out, He may not even be aware of his sexuality yet, so it doesn't really matter too much. All in all, this situation was likely a net positive since you've planted the seed that you will be accepting should he ever come to terms with his sexuality and wish to come out to you. To add though, I will say that my older sister, I'm a woman and straight, asked me this question unprompted when I was at a similar age as your brother. But the reason she asked it was more related to the fact that I wasn't very interested in dating at the time. I felt very personally attacked in that moment. Not because I didn't trust her, but because before that moment I genuinely hadn't had any dating experience. And her question made me feel like I now had this pressure on me to start dating before I was ready. Otherwise people might assume things about what kind of person I was. And as I mentioned, that pressure may be even higher for him since young people these days feel this weird need to put themselves into identity label boxes and know who they are at an absurdly young age. Most people don't really know who they are until their late 20s or so. Whether your brother is gay or not, he could possibly be going through a similar emotional experience as I was when I was asked that question. And it might be good to clarify to him that he shouldn't feel any pressure to date or define himself before he is ready. And maybe apologize for making him feel like he had to define himself in that moment. Soft YTA because it was tactless. You asked to pry, and the consequence was that it scared and confused him. So, even if your intentions weren't wrong, the results made you tip into the ta realm. It doesn't matter how benign you meant it out to be. It had negative repercussions. So you have to own that. YTA if he is gay. It is his choice when or indeed whether to come out. Trying to out somebody like this is inappropriate and potentially damaging. I'm shocked by this comment section. Then I remember that most of the world isn't gay. YTA. Even if you're dying to tell him how supportive you are, it's not your business. The only time you need to ask this question is if you are looking for a romantic, sexual partner. You ask your kid brother in a public space to come out to you on the spot because he looked at a waiter. At 15, I didn't know I was gay, but subconsciously I was desperately trying to not give off a gay vibe. This question would have devastated me. YTA certainly if you just said that out of nowhere. Like, you didn't start off with asking him why he's looking at the waiter or something. Just silence. So you gay? I'd be pretty caught off guard if I were him too. Kind of jumping to conclusions a bit. YTA, out of nowhere in public is a wild way to ask such a personal question. It's hard to not ask. But never ask. People get so defensive and there is no way to draw back the question if it goes wrong. You just can't win with asking. I waited years for my daughter to come out. She finally did, confessing to me. When she didn't get any reaction, she told me again. I turned to her and said, I know. I was just waiting for you to figure it out. You're fine. And why would I be angry? I like women too. In 4 or 5 years, when your brother is a bit older, he may or may not come out. When he is ready. Or maybe he is straight and just thought the waiter looked like a guy in school who he hates. Or looks like a villain on a TV show. Or anything. YTA. If he's gay he'll tell you when he's ready. Coming out needs to be a conscious choice. You can't pull someone out. No matter how well-meaning your intentions might be. I think as a general rule in life, we should make sure your loved ones know you love them unconditionally and that they can be their authentic selves with you without judgment. The rest needs to happen naturally. In their own time. No matter how gentle your delivery or how kind your reassurances might have been. YTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.